now that I have my first word written, what I want to do is go over to my, well, first I'm going to move it into the place where I want. I'm going to try and create this curve here. So I'm going to Command T to rotate it first a little bit. But I really want to do something cool to make it look like it's bent to the shape of the logo. So I'm going to go over to my text tool and make sure that I have my text chosen. Then I go to the little text warp here and I start to bend it. And I want to go with the curve, obviously. Now, in some cases, I want to play with these things too, because overall, you're going to have a good 100 copies of your text to complete this picture at least, which means you're going to have a lot of layers, by the way. And so you want each one to be different in some ways. So I'm going to make some changes. I also want to make it true to that shape. Press OK. And now I find that, let me go back to my move tool. Now I find that it's pretty good fit, but it needs to be rotated a little bit more. So you're basically going to keep going between that warp and your text warp and the transformation tool and the move tool, the transformation part of the move tool, until you have something that really fits nicely. A little bit more. Now it doesn't have to be exactly perfect, but it almost can be. So I'm going to flip one more. I'm going to go one more time to my text tool and bend it just a tiny bit more. There you go. All right, return. All right, so I'm pretty happy with that bend. Now, all you're going to do when you're ready for your second one, and by the way, you don't have to go in order, but I'm going to for this part. I'm holding down my Alt button using my move tool, which makes a duplicate. You remember this from last year, hopefully. We're going to turn it. We could shrink it a little bit. I'm holding down Shift to keep it in proportion. And now we're going to use our bend again. So I'm going to press return to set that transformation. Go to my text tool, click it. You'll see that I accidentally made a new text layer, so I'm going to Command Z that action or press escape and try and make sure I get on the actual text. Great. And now I'm going to go to that text bend again. I'm going to need a pretty big bend for this one. That looks like it might be good. I want more of my bend on this side. Let's see if I can make that happen. Okay. That's fine. All right, so I'm going to press OK. I'm going to take this, and you're like, well, that's not even close to fitting, Mr. Cier. What the heck did you do? I'm going to Command T and turn it like that. That's much closer. I'm also going to hold Shift and use this to shrink it down a lot. It's looking pretty good. Press return. I also want to make it so, by the way, by the end of this, you don't want to overlap a lot, and you want to try and make it so that everything is covered. So even that little space there is kind of annoying me. I'm trying to turn it in there. I still want that exclamation point to be readable though. Great. Move that in a little bit. Great. Press return, and now I got to go over to my text tool and see if, whoops, I did that again. Escape. See if I can make this text bend just a little bit less. That's more. That's better. Okay. Move tool to move it into place. Command T to turn it a little bit more. So you can see that this is a little bit repetitive. We're just going between move tool, transformation, and the warp. All right, I'm happy with that because I'm going to do something here that makes it different. So I'm going to my first one. If you have your move tool on auto select, it'll automatically go between the different texts. I wanted to go back to this text, so I'm holding down Alt, bringing another one. I'm going to Command T this one, turn it this way, and it's going the wrong way, so I press return, go to my text tool, click this, go to my text warp. I'm going to bend it the opposite way, first of all, and significantly less, by the way. And I want it to be smallest on this end, so I'm going to change the horizontal distortion. Good. And press return, move it into place. And I think you have an idea of how this project is going to go. Now, one thing I do want to say is that I haven't shown, I'm going to select one more of these here. If I want to change the color, then I could either just make new text and change the color, or so I would select this text and then I would make it whatever color I want. I'm going to pick it from my actual project. So this is the gray that I'm looking for. There you go. All right, so now I have the different colored version, and I'm going to Command T it. And the good news is you don't have to do this every single time, because when I want a gray one, I'm going to copy it from here. When I want a red one, I'm going to Alt click with the move tool from there. All right, so Shift, make this a lot smaller. It looks like it already follows this edge. So I'm just going to shrink it so that it fits there. And this is going to be a relatively easy one to do. I could also use my arrow tools to move it. So I'm trying to like move it exactly. There you go. All right, so that one is done. I almost forgot to mention something really important. When you're using your move tool, eventually this whole space is going to be crowded with words. So sometimes it's difficult for you to differentiate which layer you're on, especially since they're all named the same thing because you're just copying them. What you want to do in that case is if you use your move tool and you check this auto select check right here, it automatically differentiates between which word you want to move and goes to that layer. That's really, it does really make it a lot easier. However, sometimes you have things so crowded that it'll still grab the wrong one, and I don't have enough yet to show you that. What you might have to do is go to your layers and start making all the ones that you're not trying to move temporarily disappear. That'll make it easier to select the correct one. So using both those methods, and believe me, I'm not even joking when I say that it's severely annoying when you have 100 words all in this crammed in this little space and you're trying to move one and it keeps getting the other one. You may even have to turn off your auto select so that you could select the layer that it's on, and that way it won't be able to accidentally select the others. So using those three methods now, you should be able to move without having those kinds of troubles. When you're in the text tool, usually you'll need escape again. Sometimes it's a pain to get this exactly right. Usually you'll need the arc, but you might also need flag, and you might need some of the other ones too, or you might want to try them out. As long as you can fit them into their picture and there's no overlapping, everything is readable, that's what we're shooting for. So you can use whatever you want. I prefer arc. Sometimes, well, the arch also works. Sometimes flag, if I were doing something, I'm just moving this out of the way. If I were doing something like this, I might try and use flag, okay? So, but you could use whatever shapes as you want as long as you figure out how to fill all your space with the words. It's important that you Command S every time you do, like you shape something correctly, especially if it's difficult. Okay, so I wanted to fast forward just a little bit to show you what I ended up with as my final. You can see here that I have lots and lots and lots, and also lots and lots and lots of different layers. You can see that 99% of them are very legible, which means that we can read them relatively easily. There are some that are kind of tough to read, but for the majority, you get the idea of what it is. I have very little overlapping so that it's easy to read things, and I really tried to press my curves. Now, one thing you'll notice is I used my paint bucket to dump the background black just because I thought it looked cooler. I have over 100 words in here. They're readable. They're interesting. They're not like the most boring text in the world, and they have different fades and things on them. Very few of them are exactly the same. Meaning that I worked with each text and used lots of different shapes. You can see this fish-shaped one here to create my image. Some of them are backwards and upside down just for fun. All right, so this is a completed and good version of the project. Obviously, I put my name on it, and I also put my grade, and that's the project. So I really hope you enjoy it. Please leave appropriate feedback.